One well-known creepy story from Mexico is the legend of La Llorona, which translates to the weeping woman. According to the legend, a woman named Maria lived in Mexico many years ago. She fell in love with a wealthy man and bore him 2 children. However, the man did not want to marry Maria because she was poor, so he left her and married a woman from a wealthy family instead. Enraged by his betrayal, Maria drowned her 2 children in a river and then drowned herself. Her spirit was said to wander the earth, weeping and searching for her children. Some say that she appears as a white figure, while others describe her as a wailing voice heard in the night. Many people in Mexico believe that La Llorona still haunts the country, particularly near bodies of water such as rivers and canals. Some have claimed to see her wandering the streets, weeping and searching for her lost children. Others have reported hearing her cries in the night, and some even say that she has tried to take children who wander too close to the water. While the legend of La Llorona may be just that, a legend, it continues to be a popular story in Mexico, and many people believe that the spirit of the weeping woman still roams the country to this day. One real-life creepy Denver story is the case of Theodore Coneys, also known as the Denver Spider-Man. In the late 1940s, Coneys lived in the attic of an apartment building at 3335 West 16th Avenue. He had managed to gain access to the attic through a small crawlspace and had been living there undetected for years. Coneys survived by stealing food from the other residents and taking showers when they were out. He also listened in on their conversations through a small hole he had drilled in the ceiling of one of the apartments. He became known as the Spider-Man because of his ability to move around the building undetected, crawling through the walls and ceilings. In 1941, one of the residents, Philip Peters, discovered Coneys in his apartment and confronted him. In a fit of rage, Coneys attacked Peters with a hammer, killing him. He then sealed the apartment door and went back to his hiding place in the attic. For years, the other residents of the building noticed a strange smell coming from Peters' apartment, but assumed it was just a dead animal. It wasn't until 1944 that a new tenant decided to investigate the source of the smell and discovered Peters' decomposing body in the sealed apartment. Police eventually tracked down Coneys and arrested him for the murder. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. The building where he lived is still standing and is now a historical landmark, known as the Murder House. One creepy Wisconsin story is that of Ed Gein, a notorious serial killer and grave robber who lived in Plainfield, Wisconsin in the 1950s. Gein was known for his macabre collection of body parts and furniture made from human skin and bones. Gein's crimes were discovered in 1957 after he was linked to the disappearance of local hardware store owner Bernice Worden. When police searched Gein's farm, they found Worden's body as well as a gruesome collection of human remains and objects made from human skin and bones. Gein had been robbing graves and killing women for years, but had managed to avoid suspicion until his capture. He was eventually found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in a mental institution, where he remained until his death in 1984. Gein's crimes inspired several popular horror films, including Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. His house of horrors has since been demolished, but the legacy of his gruesome crimes continues to fascinate and terrify people to this day. One famous creepy true-life story from Maine is that of the North Pond Hermit. For over 27 years, a man named Christopher Knight lived alone in the woods of central Maine, without any human contact. He survived by stealing food and supplies from nearby cabins and camps, but was never caught or detected until 2013. Knight became known as the North Pond Hermit, and his story gained national attention when he was finally caught by a game warden who had set up surveillance around a nearby campsite. When he was apprehended, he He admitted to over 1,000 burglaries in order to survive. What made Knight's story even creepier was his almost total isolation from society for such a long period of time. He didn't have any friends, family, or relationships during those 27 years, and didn't even light a fire for fear of being detected. Some speculate that he suffered from a mental illness, while others marvel at his ability to survive alone in the harsh Maine wilderness for so long. One of the creepiest and most well-known true stories from New York is the tale of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, a bizarre and terrifying incident that occurred in Illinois in the 1940s. Between 1944 and 1945, residents of the small town of Mattoon began reporting strange incidents of gas attacks. According to witnesses, a mysterious figure would approach homes at night and release a noxious gas through open windows or doors, causing those inside to experience symptoms such as dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. Some even reported seeing a shadowy figure lurking outside their homes. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the Mad Gasser was never caught. Some speculated that it was a lone individual with a grudge against the town, while others believed that it was a mass hysteria brought on by wartime anxiety. To this day, the true identity of the Mad Gasser remains a mystery, and the incident continues to be one of the most unsettling and mysterious cases in American history. One creepy Florida story that comes to mind is the story of Carl Tonsler, also known as Count Carl von Cosel, who lived in Key West in the 1930s. Tonsler was a radiology technician who became obsessed with a tuberculosis patient named Elena Hoyos, who he treated at the hospital. Despite being married, Tonsler developed a romantic infatuation with Hoyos and attempted to cure her of her illness. However, Hoyos eventually died in 1931, and Tonsler secretly removed her body from the cemetery and took it back to his home, where he lived with the corpse for several years. Tonsler reconstructed Hoyos' body using wax, plaster, and various other materials, dressing her up in clothes and even adding a wig. He reportedly slept with the body every night and spoke to it as if it were still alive. Tonsler's obsession eventually came to light in 1940 when Hoyos' sister discovered the body in Tonsler's home. He was arrested and charged with grave robbing, but the statute of limitations had expired, and he was released without being convicted. The story of Carl Tonsler is considered one of the most bizarre and disturbing in Florida's history, and his home in Key West, which was once filled with his macabre creations, has since become a popular tourist attraction known as the Elena Hoyos Museum. One true-life creepy story from Africa is the legend of the Tokoloshi, a mythical creature in Zulu mythology that is said to be a small, evil spirit that can cause mischief and harm to humans. According to legend, the Tokoloshi is a creature that is summoned by a witch or sorcerer to do their bidding. The creature is said to be able to enter a person's home through a keyhole, and once inside, it will torment and harm the occupants. There have been numerous reported sightings and encounters with the Tokoloshi in South Africa, with many people claiming to have been physically attacked by the creature. In one particularly disturbing incident, a woman in South Africa claimed that the Tokoloshi had been tormenting her for months, causing her to experience nightmares and physical pain. She eventually sought the help of a traditional healer, who performed a ritual to banish the creature. However, even after the ritual was performed, the woman continued to experience strange occurrences, including the sensation of being touched and pulled at night. It's a haunting story that still sends shivers down the spines of those who hear it. One well-known creepy true story from Asia is the legend of the Kuchisake Onna, or slit-mouthed woman. According to the legend, a beautiful woman wearing a surgical mask approached children in Japan, particularly in the late 1970s and early 1980s. She would ask them if they thought she was pretty. If they said no, she would reveal her mouth, which had been slit from ear to ear, and ask again. If they said no again, she would attack them with a pair of scissors. If they said yes, she would remove her mask, revealing her horrifically disfigured face, and ask if they still thought she was pretty. If they said no, she would kill them with her scissors. If they said yes, she would slit their mouths like hers. The legend of the Kuchisake-onna spread rapidly and caused widespread panic among parents and children. Some parents even kept their children home from school, and many schools instituted rules requiring students to travel in groups for safety. Although there have been various interpretations of the legend and its origins, it is generally believed to have originated from an urban legend in Japan in the 1970s. Nevertheless, the Kuchisake-onna remains a chilling story that has captured the imaginations of people in Asia and beyond. One creepy true life story from France is that of the Beast of Gévaudan. In the 18th century, a mysterious creature terrorized the region of Gévaudan, in south-central France. The beast was described as a large, wolf-like creature, with reddish fur and a fierce demeanor. It was said to attack and kill humans, especially young women and children, in a brutal and savage manner. The first recorded attack by the Beast of Gévaudan was in 1764, and over the next 3 years, it reportedly killed around 100 people. The authorities sent soldiers and hunters to track down and kill the beast, but it proved elusive and difficult to capture. Despite numerous attempts, the creature was only finally killed in 1767, when a local hunter named Jean Chassel shot it dead. The identity of the Beast of Gévaudan remains a mystery to this day, and various theories have been put forward over the years. Some believe it was a wild animal, such as a wolf or a hyena, while others speculate that it was a trained attack dog or even a supernatural entity. The legend of the Beast of Gévaudan has inspired numerous books, films, and TV shows, and it remains one of the most intriguing and unsettling stories in French history. One of the most chilling true life stories from California is that of the Black Dahlia murder. In 1947, the body of a young woman was found in a vacant lot in Los Angeles. The body was mutilated and drained of blood, and the killer had cut a wide, Glasgow smile across her face. The woman was identified as Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress who had moved to LA from Massachusetts. The investigation into Short's murder became one of the most high-profile and controversial cases in the history of the LAPD. Dozens of suspects were questioned, but the case went cold, and the killer was never found. Despite the lack of resolution, the Black Dahlia case has continued to capture the public's imagination, inspiring countless books, movies, and TV shows. In recent years, a number of theories have emerged about the identity of the killer, including the possibility that it was a doctor or a Hollywood actor. However, the case remains unsolved, and the true identity of the Black Dahlia's killer may never be known. One creepy true life story associated with Route 66 is the legend of the ghost of the Lady in White. The legend tells of a young woman who was traveling on Route 66 with her new husband on their wedding night. According to the story, the couple got into an argument and the woman stormed out of the car, walking along the side of the road in her white wedding gown. As she walked, she was struck and killed by a passing car, and her ghost is said to still haunt the stretch of Route 66 where she died. There have been numerous sightings of the Lady in White over the years, with some people claiming to have seen her walking along the side of the road, while others report seeing her ghostly figure standing on the highway. Some people even claim that the Lady in White has the power to bring bad luck to those who see her. While there's no definitive proof that the Lady in White actually exists, her legend continues to haunt the popular Route 66 highway, and many people still claim to have seen her ghostly figure to this day. One of the most chilling true-life stories from Nevada is the tale of the Lady in Red, a ghostly figure said to haunt the historic Mizpah Hotel in the town of Tonopah. According to legend, a young woman named Rose who was wearing a red dress checked into the Mizpah Hotel in the early 20th century. She was waiting for her husband, a miner, to return from work. However, her husband never returned, and Rose soon learned that he had died in a mining accident. Devastated by her loss, Rose is said to have taken her own life in her hotel room, donning her red dress one last time before she died. Now, guests of the hotel claim to have seen the apparition of a woman in a red dress walking the halls, or appearing in their rooms. Some have reported feeling a chill, or the sensation of being touched, while others have heard strange noises or seen objects moving on their own. Despite the spookiness of the Lady in Red, many visitors to the Mizpah Hotel are drawn to the hotel because of its reputation as a haunted hotspot. The hotel even offers ghost tours and paranormal investigations for those brave enough to explore its haunted hallways. One creepy true story from Brazil is that of the Chupa Chupa phenomenon that occurred in the northern state of Pará in the 1970s. According to reports, many people in the area claim to have been attacked by strange, luminous objects that would hover in the air and emit a high-pitched sound before descending and sucking their blood. The attacks were said to occur mostly at night, and witnesses reported feeling weak and disoriented after the encounters. The phenomenon became known as Chupa Chupa, which translates to suck suck in Portuguese. The attacks were so widespread that the Brazilian Air Force was called in to investigate. The government officially denied any knowledge of the phenomenon, but some locals claimed that the military had conducted secret experiments in the area involving radiation and other unknown substances. Despite various investigations, the Chupa Chupa phenomenon remains a mystery to this day. Some believe it was a case of mass hysteria or an elaborate hoax, while others believe it was a genuine paranormal event. Whatever the truth may be, the Chupa Chupa phenomenon remains one of the most chilling and unsettling stories in Brazilian history. One of the most famous and chilling stories to come out of Russia is the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers set out on a trek through the Ural Mountains. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, and they were all students at the Ural Polytechnic Institute. The hikers made their way up the mountain, but something went horribly wrong. When the group failed to return on time, a search party was sent out to find them. The searchers eventually came across the hikers' campsite, and what they found was horrifying. The tent had been ripped open from the inside, and all 9 hikers were missing. The search party followed a trail of footprints in the snow, and eventually found the bodies of the hikers scattered throughout the area. Some were found with severe injuries, including broken bones and skull fractures, but there were no signs of struggle or foul play. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened to the hikers on that fateful night. Some theories suggest that they were attacked by wild animals or even abducted by extraterrestrials. Others believe that the hikers were victims of a government cover-up or that they fell victim to a military weapon testing accident. The mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to fascinate people around the world, and it remains one of the most eerie and unexplained events in modern history. One true-life creepy story from England is the tale of the Enfield poltergeist, which occurred in the late 1970s. The events took place in a council house in Enfield, North London, and were widely reported in the media at the time. The haunting began in 1977, when a single mother named Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children claimed to have experienced strange and terrifying occurrences in their home. The family reported hearing unexplained knocking and banging on the walls and furniture, as well as seeing objects move on their own. Over time, the incidents escalated and became more frequent and intense. The children claimed that they were being physically attacked by an unseen force, including being pushed, slapped and even bitten. The events attracted the attention of local police and paranormal investigators, who witnessed many of the phenomena firsthand. One of the most well-known incidents involved a chair that allegedly moved on its own, witnessed by a police officer and a photographer. Despite extensive investigations, no explanation was ever found for the Enfield poltergeist. Skeptics suggested that the events were a hoax, but many people, including the investigators involved, believed that something genuinely paranormal was occurring in the house. The story of the Enfield poltergeist remains one of the most famous and chilling paranormal cases in British history. One creepy true story is that of the Hinterkaifeck murders, which occurred in Germany in 1922. The Hinterkaifeck farm was located in a remote area of Bavaria and was home to the Gruber family, consisting of Andreas and his wife Casilia, their daughter Victoria, Victoria's children Casilia and Joseph, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. On the evening of March 31, 1922, the family was attacked and killed with a mattock, a type of farming tool. The killers had entered the home and made their way to the family's sleeping quarters, where they bludgeoned each person to death. What makes this case especially creepy is that the killers apparently stayed in the house for several days after the murders. Neighbors reported seeing smoke coming from the chimney and hearing footsteps inside the home, but assumed that the family had left town. It wasn't until a few days later that a neighbor went to check on the family and discovered their bodies. The investigation that followed was hampered by a number of factors, including contaminated evidence and a lack of suspects. No one was ever charged with the crime, and the case remains unsolved to this day.